Today, we're going to build a ChatGPT app using the OpenAI Apps SDK that connects to the movie database and displays information about upcoming or popular movies to users. Let's get started. Hey everyone. So I'm going to be building a movie lookup app in ChatGPT using the Apps SDK released by OpenAI about a week and a half ago. It's going to be a step-by-step tutorial, so I'm going to go through a little bit of OAuth, although OAuth is largely handled by Gadget, the platform I'm using. I'm going to talk about MCP setup, so we are going to have an MCP server, and then I'm going to talk about building your widgets that are embedded in an iframe in ChatGPT using React. Steps for this video: the SDK's only been out about a week and a half, so some of the tooling we use may be updated. This video might be out of date by the time you're watching it because it has been so soon. We're familiarizing ourselves with the APIs and OAuth and things like that. So all of the latest information can be found in our documentation, docs.gadget.dev. We have a Building with ChatGPT Apps page, or the step-by-step tutorials on our blog post. We're going to have links to forkable templates. These templates will have the latest code and tooling available, and it will also be here in the blog post if you want to go through step-by-step and follow along with the build. So links to all this will be in the video description. Just wanted to shout out that by the time you watch this, there might be some new tools, including a built-in connection that you can use to build these apps. Okay, let's start the app build here. I'm going to start by forking the starter template. It's available in my Gadget docs right now. Give my app a name, my ChatGPT movies. The reason I'm using this template is it's going to handle a bunch of the ChatGPT boilerplate for me. Auth is going to be built in. I'm going to have an MCP server set up by default, as well as a sample. If I open my ChatGPT widgets, you see there is a hello world.tsx file. So we will be building our front end using React. That's why I'm using this template. I will also note that because Gadget's backend is Node, there's a package JSON file, so you can install whatever packages you want. We've already got a bunch pre-installed, including, you notice that we are serving with Vite. We have a Vite plugin, ChatGPT widgets, Vite plugin, that is enabling us to do things like use hot module reloading when we're building our ChatGPT apps. So just wanted to point all that out. Let's start by setting up our app inside ChatGPT. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy my app URL. You see the live app URL here. It does has with dash development. It's because this is my development environment. So when I'm building on Gadget, I am building on production grade infrastructure live on the internet. This is my development environment. We also have a production environment that we haven't deployed to yet. So that's important when I am going ahead and setting up my app here in ChatGPT. If I go to apps and connectors, create a new app, give it a name, my movies app, my URL, I want to give it the MCP endpoint. It's already set up. And once again, that dash development for my development environment. Like I mentioned, OAuth is built in, so I can just trust this application and go ahead and create this new connector. While this is spinning up, I do just want to point out, like I mentioned, the backend, this API folder, we've got a Postgres database and it's serverless node. Gadget uses Fastify under the hood, so these are Fastify routes that handle OAuth. It's going to be the OAuth and well-known folders, as well as MCP server setup. So that's that MCP endpoint we gave to the connection. There we go. We're going ahead and going along with OAuth. I'm just going to use Google SSO, and this is Auth built into your Gadget app here. And then I will allow access on ChatGPT's side. So what the heck just happened? Should just be redirected back to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT did its little OAuth flow that is baked in. I'm not going to go to it in detail. You can check out ChatGPT's docs. We also have a blog post about it for more in-depth information. It's taken care of, so I'm not really going to worry about it. The key thing is that we do have data models, especially this user data model. So you can see when I signed in with Google, created this user record here in Gadget, and my user record has an ID. So this enables me to build multi-tenant ChatGPT apps. So in my movie app example, everyone who signs in and uses this app will have their own movie watch list reference because I am associating, or will be associating, those watch lists with a user. So we are set up for multi-tenant apps. We'll get into that in a little bit. There we go. So my movies app has indeed been set up. If I check it out, let's just refresh my actions here. What it's gonna do is go ahead and call this MCP endpoint, and we can see we've got a hello world action and an auth action. And these are just built in to the MCP server here. So if I scroll down, you see there is a hello world tool call, and then this auth tool call that I'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, so I guess at this point we can start going through the MCP setup. There's really only two things you need to do to build these ChatGPT apps, or two minimal things. You need to go ahead and set up this MCP server, and then you need to go ahead and actually define and build your front-end widgets. So that's like the minimal thing you need to do. We're gonna go a bit beyond that because we wanna go ahead and store these watch lists in a database. But for now, the minimal surface area is just MCP setup and widget. In my MCP post route, I am creating an MCP server, which is defined here in my mcp.ts file. And all I'm doing here, I'm creating a new instance of an MCP server. The next little bit here, all this boilerplate, what we are doing is registering my widgets in this ChatGPT widgets folder as resources on my MCP server. So because we're using Vite in Gadget, we have built a Vite plugin, I mentioned, gives us this get widgets function. And if you copy this snippet exactly from our docs, or go ahead and just fork our starter template, this will go ahead, automatically detect all of the widgets in this folder. By default, you can customize that in your Vite config file. And then we're just looping over all these widgets and registering them as resources. The important part is this resource URI. So it's using the widget name, which in this case will just be file name, hello world. So this will be hello world.html. Because I need a complementary tool registration, which is right here. We're registering a hello world tool that references that resource, that URI, as an output template. So this right here needs to match the resource URI on our registered resource. So once again, this is all coming by default from the template. I'm gonna extend this with my movies app a little bit. Finally, your default MCP server will have this auth token v1 tool set up. You don't need to go ahead and modify this at all. What this enables is how ChatGPT works, or when you're making tool calls from within your ChatGPT widgets using the MCP server, ChatGPT is automatically going to attach a bearer token as a header to any request made as a tool call. And this enables you to make authenticator requests from within your ChatGPT iframe. Tool calls are really slow. My previous to-do app build, you would go ahead and add a new to-do, and if you weren't being optimistic about updating the UI, you'd sit there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds until your new to-do was added. What this tool call enables is we have an auto-generated API client that Gadget is generating for me. It's actually right here, web api.ts. And then we have a React provider in this root file in our ChatGPT widgets folder. You can see it right here, Gadget provider, and we're passing in our API client. So when I have this tool call, this auth tool call, what is happening is that provider is getting the required token with this tool call from ChatGPT, and it's going to automatically append the required bearer token to any requests made using the API client from within your ChatGPT widgets. This is all to say you can skip creating tool calls for every single request you need to make from within your widget. You can just use your API client to make requests. It's so much faster. Anyways, you shouldn't need to touch this. Just leave it as is. This is what's coming with the default template. Let's go ahead and start to make some edits. So I did mention we do need to store a watch list. So I'm going to go ahead and add a watch list model. This creates a new table in my underlying Postgres database. You can see it's already related. Postgres is relational. You can add relationships in Gadget. This is really just a visual ORM. We'll just close the AI assistant for now. It's already related to the user, and I've got some ID and timestamp information. All I need to do is add a single field to this model. TMDB ID. TMDB is the movie database ID. This is just going to be a number. Now, I could have just added this field to my existing user model instead of creating a whole new watch list model. I'm mostly just doing this for, well, simplicity. I can show off the API client generated for my watch list, but it's also if I want users to have multiple different custom lists, it's easier to kind of extend this out with a separate model. So it's just going to hold this reference number now. The actual watch list itself is going to be stored in the movie database. So I don't need to store every single movie on every single list. I could if I wanted, but I don't want to. So now that I have this watch list model, I am just going to go ahead and create a little helper file to help me make calls to the movie database. So I'm just going to do it at my API root here. Just create a new TypeScript file. I'm just going to paste in a bunch of code. All this is doing, setting up some base URLs to hit the movie database. They've got a great API reference available here. Setting up some type definitions. I've got a fetch call. I'm going to be using this to hit a couple of their movies endpoints, including these movie lists. So what's playing, upcoming, popular, etc. And then I have this TMDB post call that I'm going to be using to add items to my watch list. And then there is a little format movie helper. None of this is unique to ChatGPT apps or Gadget. This is just general TypeScript code here. We are just using fetch to hit the TMDB endpoint. You can see I do need an API key, so I can go ahead and add that in my Gadget app. I can just go add. Believe that is what it was called. Just go and double check here. Yep, TMDB API key. And what I would normally do now is fetch this from the movie database. What I'm actually going to do is just Ninja updated it in a separate window so I don't accidentally leak my, not that it's super sensitive, I could always rotate it after the fact, but I'm just going to go ahead and update it. You do get it directly from the movie database's API docs. Perfect. I've updated it. If I go back, you see it now has a value and I've made it a secret. So that is groovy. So there we go. I've got my little helper. I've got my environment variable set up. The next thing I need to do is edit my MCP server. So if I go to mcp.ts, I'm just going to go ahead and start by adding a tool call. I don't really want to display hello world, but we'll leave it there for now. I think I'm going to go mcp server.register tool. And to start, I am just going to get a list of now playing movies. So that's going to be the name of my tool. I'm going to pass in a bunch of properties, including a title. Let's get now playing movies. I'm going to give it a description, get a list of movies currently playing in theaters. Perfect. I am going to give it an input schema. So this is if I want to pass information in as input to this tool call. You do use Zod for this. So I'm just going to define a page. I'm already importing. Should see. Oh, I'm not importing Zod. So let's go import. There we go. There we go. Get a bit of autocomplete here. So this is just going to be a number. And I can add some additional color to this if I want it to be optional. And we can go ahead and describe it if I want. So this is the, page number for pagination. If I want to build that in, say the default is set to 1. And let's add a region. Movies can come out on different days. So if we go string, once again, make that optional, give it a description. I am going to go ahead and just copy this description because I would not remember what code it is. There we go. Perfect. So that is all the input schema I need. I'm going to go ahead and register some annotations. And the reason I'm turning on this read-only hint is if I don't do this, I'll be prompted by ChatGPT every time I use this app in a new chat to go ahead and give it permission. This just gets rid of that. It's fine. Now I need some meta schema passed in. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and define that output template. And you can see I am going to set up a new movie list widget. So I'll just do movie list.html. That's the URI. And then I'm just going to copy. I've already written this out. So I'm just going to copy my other meta schema. This gives me an invoking string and an invoked string. So this is just what is displayed by ChatGPT when it's actually running this tool. Perfect. There's a third argument here, and this is the actual, it's a callback function. And this will have page. We're just going to set it to 1 by default. And region. This is once again my input schema. We'll just start with US. And we can go ahead. And now we can go ahead and actually write out this function. This is actually how we implement the logic for our tool call. What I want to do here is actually fetch the movies that are now playing. I'm going to go ahead and go use my TMDB fetch helper. I think I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this because it really is just. So we need to go ahead and import these from our little resource, but all this is doing is it is going to make the fetch on this now playing endpoint from the movie database, and then it'll go ahead and format the output. It's going to map over the results. Let's finish off our callback function here, our tool call function. There's going to be a return statement. And so what I can go ahead and return, what I need to return is structured content is going to be information passed to my widget that's available on the window object within the iframe. So structured content is the most important thing to return here. And this is just going to be my output, so my formatted information. And now I need to do this for all of the endpoints I want to support. So if I run this tool call, it should go ahead, fetch movies that are now playing, format them, and return it to my widget that we haven't defined yet. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to update this entire MCP page. So what we've done, as you see, I am importing all of my helpers from my TMDB file. I've actually got a watchlist helper that's going to go ahead and fetch my watch list because we're going to mark certain movies as on the list. And then ultimately, this is what register tools for now playing movies looks like. We've got our fetch. We're actually grabbing the watch list, checking to see if the movie is in the watch list, formatting that output, and then returning structured content. You can return content optionally. You don't need to, but it looks largely the same. So that's one of our tool calls. And once again, it's going to be rendering in a movie list widget that we haven't defined yet. And we're doing effectively the same pattern for a whole bunch of endpoints. So this is for searching movies. So if I want to search by title or keywords, we have that ability built in as a tool call. Just calling the search movie endpoint in the movie database. Once again, we're just fetching data, similar output, returning it as structured content. It's going to feel very similar. We do the same thing for these get popular movies. We're still going to use our movie list widget. We're going to be making a call to the movie database, getting our watch list, formatting our output, returning it as structured content. So as you keep building these, these are all kind of similar options using the same service, the movie database, but it feels pretty similar. Same with getting movie details. Once again, same widget, using a fetch. It's going to be in a slightly different format, so we have some custom manipulation here. Not worried about whether or not it's on the watch list for this one, returning structured content. Same with upcoming movies. I'm just going to scroll right past it. Getting the watch list works similarly. I can ask for my custom watch list. We're doing a bit of custom formatting here, but we're ultimately just using the get my watch list helper and returning it as structured content. Cool. Widget registration looks the exact same. So we're just going to grab all of our widgets, register them as resource URIs, and that is all we currently need to do. So now what we need is this movie list HTML. So let's go ahead. Now remember, this is going to be a TSX file because we're building in React. I am just going to dump a whole bunch of code in here. Excellent. So it's 500 lines of code. You don't want to watch me type that. This is just React. Most of it is just plain old React. The neat thing about this is that the Gadget front end, because this is built on top of our web app template, we've got a whole bunch of components pre-built that I can just use. And that's what I'm using to build my app. I can use React hooks. And like I mentioned before, I can use this API client to go ahead and update my watch list. I'm also including some hooks in this utils folder. So the OpenAI sample app, provided a link right here, has a bunch of hooks that can be used to grab state that is declared on this window object. So the window in the iframe in ChatGPT has window.openai, and this is how you're accessing things like widget state, as you can see here. You can store a widget state so that the next time you load up a chat, it is in the exact same state that you left it in. It's pretty groovy. And you can also use this to grab things like tool output. And this tool output is particularly interesting because that is how we're getting that structured content that we're passing in from our tool. So if I just look for tool output, you see here, I am using this little custom hook to get my tool output and a use effect to set it to my state. And that's how I'm actually going to go ahead and render the movies returned as part of my MCP tool call. The other neat thing that I do want to point out, so it's really just, we've got these hooks. I'm pulling all of this code in the utils file, all this coming directly from OpenAI's sample repo. I haven't modified anything. I'm just grabbing it, using it how they document using it, and that's about it. The only other real thing to point out, like the rest of this, is just it's plain old React. It's building a React widget, got a movie card. I think the one neat thing that we do want to point out is how we're using our Gadget API client. That's going to be way up here. So we can actually see we need to add an action to our app. So this is where I'm using the Gadget API client to go ahead and call an action. It's going to be called save to list. And I haven't defined this action yet. And so I'm going to go into my Gadget app. Now we have automatically created. We've got this watch list model, and we did create, delete, and update actions as well as a read action. So it is auto-generated. A CRUD API is auto-generated when you create models in Gadget. I'm actually going to add a save to list. This is a global action that I'm going to call instead. And I'm just going to go ahead and dump a little bit of code in here. And what this will do is this will check to see if I already have a watch list created in the movie database. If I don't, it will go ahead and create that watch list. It will be multi-tenant. Just grabbing the code here. Excellent. So what you can see from this, I just dumped in a whack ton of code. When I create actions in Gadget, I do get this high context parameter, and this gives me everything I need to communicate with the rest of my app. You can see I do get an API client. I'm checking to see if a watch list already exists. If it doesn't, I'm grabbing my current user. I am going ahead, creating a new list using this list endpoint in the movie database. I am getting this data back, which has a list ID, and then I'm going ahead and creating, once again, api.watchlistCreate. That is the auto-generated API. Creating, I guess I don't really need this this user call, do I? Because I'm getting the first name here. Anyways, I'm going ahead and creating a watch list that will be linked to this current user. I could, instead of grabbing it from the session, I could also just go to user.id. But this is showing how to also just grab the user from the current session. And that is being persisted once again, because we're using this provider here. It's pending the bearer token to requests made from my widget using my API client in the front end here. So this call will have that token, which allows us to associate this request with a user, which gives us this multi-tenant capability. Creating a watch list. At this point, I will have a watch list whether or not it existed before. And finally, I am just going to go ahead and add this movie ID to the watch list. And I'm just doing that in the movie database. I'm not storing that association within Gadget at all. So this should be my entire app build. I've created my action. I have defined my widget. I'm not going to walk through the widget because once again, this is all just, it's using Tailwind. It's plain old React. If you pop open package.json, got a whole bunch of Radix components already imported and implemented here in the, don't want to do that, in the UI folder. Took me a while there. But that's just what I'm using to build my app. So we should be good here. I'm just gonna refresh. Because I updated my MCP configuration, I do need to refresh it here in ChatGPT. I should see all of my new tool calls appear. See, we've got now playing movies, search movies, getting my watch list, as well as the auth. So let's go ahead and try out the app. So if I ask, show me upcoming movies. What this will do is detect that my movies app has a tool call for finding upcoming movies. We'll make the request to the movie database, return the payload as structured content. We access that through tool output in our app. And then we should be able to see, I'm just going to go ahead and give this page a refresh. There we go. We now see our movies returned. This is our custom widget here. And you can see if we want to add them to our watch list, you click, it's added to the watch list, creates a watch list. So if I actually go to my app, check out the watch list, I do have data now. I have the reference, the movie database list ID, which is associated with my user. If I actually go to the movie database and check out my lists, I've got a couple, but this one was updated less than a minute ago. So I can see that this is Riley's custom list, and I've added the movie Begonia. Haven't heard of Begonia, but there it is. And that's the example of how the app works. So now I can go ahead. Whoa, some of these do not look appropriate for the office. Let's go ahead and just like show me my watch list. So all of these tool calls are now built in. They're going to use the exact same movies widget. This should just show me, it says, hey, I've got one movie on my watch list. That's groovy. Let's see, show me details. Jurassic Park, the greatest movie of all time. And once again, it's going to go ahead, load movie data. It's actually going to give us a bunch of options. Definitely add Jurassic Park to my watch list. Show me details about the original Jurassic Park. So we should have a tool call. There we go. We get details about Jurassic Park. We got a little overview, some financial data, some details. All of this is built in to ChatGPT and exposed through my widget. So that was how we can build our app. We're storing custom data using tool calls. We're actually skipping tool calls to store data on a watch list, which is kind of groovy. And then we're defining a whole bunch of different lookups that enable us to use ChatGPT to surface specific information about, in this case, movies. I went through a whole whack of stuff pretty quickly. If you have any questions, hop in our developer Discord and ask us, or check out our blog post or documentation. There's going to be links to all this in the video description. We are building a ChatGPT app connector similar to our Shopify and BigCommerce connections in Gadget. That'll come out. I don't want to give it a timeline. When that's out, I'm going to shoot an updated to-do list video, and I believe what it will do is hide a whole bunch of this OAuth, where are we here? The OAuth routes under the hood, so you don't really need to worry about them. There will be less code in your starter app, and you don't have to start by forking a template. You can go through the normal Gadget onboarding flow. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, once again, our Discord, or leave them in the comments. I will be monitoring them pretty closely. If there are any example apps that you would like to see built, just let us know in the video comments. We are looking for more build ideas for something that's maybe a little more real than a movie finder. But this was a nice way to just show off that you can build interesting looking widgets here in ChatGPT. Cheers.